How you doing, everybody? Today we're going to run a quick webinar that explains and showcases the differences between retail web hosting and enterprise web hosting that we as Alloy Computer Enterprises offer. So in this webinar, we're going to describe some of the differences and zoom in and showcase some of the specifics, because in this business, detail is everything. And these details that you're about to learn are what really sets Alloy Computer Enterprises apart, above, and well beyond our competitors. First, I'd like to tell you who I am. I'm Jim Aloye. I founded, own, and operate Alloy Computer Enterprises. And one of the things that we do is we provide enterprise-grade web hosting. So what's the difference between retail-grade and enterprise-grade web hosting? Well, let's take a look to define some of these terms before we start. I'm going to share my screen here. And while it's shared, we're going to take a look at basic retail hosting. In basic retail hosting, what you get from retail hosts like GoDaddy, DigitalOcean, and so forth, you get access to web hosting space, which is basically like a folder, and there's files in it. And that's an example. We'll get into that in a bit. In the folder, typically you've got your website files. So this is the folder. This is the website files, index.php, config, home, etc. And whenever you, as the customer, look, or you as the individual managing your hosting environment, you go into your public HTML folder and you look at your web hosting files, the ones that we highlighted over here, right? The file structure is obviously there's a non-customer accessible or serviceable area, and then there's the public.html or public HTML area where your website files go. And you typically will upload them, or if you're working with a consulting partner, they'll upload them for you. And it presents like this. You go to your website, for example, musicsalon.com or whatever it is, and you're right there in the root folder, right? You're literally, all your files are in the public HTML environment. So in a retail hosting platform, your security is typically F-grade. You're highly susceptible to hackers compromising your website. You have nothing protecting you whatsoever, and it could turn into a disaster if someone nefarious decides that your website is worth pointing their hostile tools at. And if you go back to your retail host, they're going to say, "Well, we gave you the space. You didn't put any security up. That's your responsibility. Sorry." So that's really what you face with retail hosting. Notice the site stops at your website. That essentially corresponds with your public HTML folder, and you've got, you're right there. You're exposed. Retail hosts are not going to protect you. The difference with Alloy Computer Enterprises is we've got so many different security layers, and we make those accessible to you if you have a self-managed plan. Or we manage all that or assist you with a hybrid or a full managed plan. The difference with us is we have your website files deep in a chroot jailed environment that is a subdirectory. We have a security file here that controls access and performs some advanced redirects. And we also then have, in this case, it's a WordPress environment. We have a subdirectory called WP. And in that subdirectory, that chroot jail container, if you will, are all your website files. This presents very different from here. What you see when you go to a Alloy Computer Enterprises site is you see a subdirectory like that. or you see, if you're not on WordPress and you're using something else, that directory may be different. Now, there are other enterprise hosting companies that facilitate this same thing a little differently, but we do it this way. Typically, if it's a WordPress site, we use WP, and what that does is that essentially allows a lot of different tools and components to be installed in the space between the root, right? Between the root and the folder or root jail, if you will, that contains your website. And the types of things that can be installed here is ultimately security technology, redirection technology, and different technology that we as the hosting provider can install, or you as the customer can install and manage, if you're on a self-managed plan, to facilitate advanced security and availability. So if you've got servers across the globe kind of working together, you can use this containerized space to facilitate access to different servers and different websites, the same URL, but if you've got, for example, a server in Europe, a server in North America, a server in South America, and they're all running the same website, you can install technology, or we can install technology for you that looks at where the customer's coming from and routes them to the site that's in their geographic location. So there's a lot of technology that can get implemented in this containerized environment. Plus, of course, your security is enhanced and by being in this type of containerized environment. So how does this look compared to retail hosting? Well, retail hosting, you just have a bucket and your stuff's in it. You've got a bucket, and you can then create we can create sub buckets and ultimately nest your website files deep in this secure area. So some of the other technologies that sit above or outside of the secure area for your website files are reverse proxies, Cloudflare technology, caching technology, and we also have data execution prevention, that if you turn off your caching and your cloud and your firewall technology and you just let it run, totally stripped for whatever reason, I don't know why you do that, but if you did, our data execution prevention technology actually detects what would be 0-day or even nation state type viruses that haven't executed yet, that are would be trying to execute and drop malware or payloads, and it's actually going to stop that from executing and prevent the malware from ever taking root, and then of course deleting the malware if it detects that it attempts to execute after it prevents that from happening. Now, if you've got a real sophisticated actor, and for some reason their data execution prevention isn't smart enough to stop the execution, and it does start dropping malware, we've got a second layer of technology that scans and disinfects the malware and then essentially traces it back to the source and deletes the source. So not only do we have the layers, integrated Cloudflare, and many different layers of technology like that, but we also have the data execution prevention and that type of technology in place. When you scan an Aloye Computer Enterprises enterprise hosted website, you're going to see an A grade security, which is very different than what you see when you scan retail hosting websites. Our sites have A's, and retail hosting websites typically have F's. So big benefit to what we have to offer. Now, what does this mean for you as the customer? What's the impact? And what do you have to do, number one, if you're self-managed, and what do we do to kind of facilitate this if you're on a hybrid or fully managed plan? Well, number one, if you're self-managed, obviously, you are handling everything. So we've got a number of best practice guides with extremely detailed and verbose technical information So you would go through those guides, and they may, be upwards of 10, 15, 20, some of them even 60 pages long, depending on what environment you're in. And, you, like any IT department, self-hosted, would be going through that and following all of the instructions in great detail, and implementing the firewall rules and the different things that you have to implement to get everything working exactly the way that you want them to. And of course, if you're on a hybrid plan, which is not self-managed, but you've got access to us for a lot of assistance, you can raise different issues and concerns to us, and we can assist you and pick up some of the load on a hybrid plan. And then, of course, if you're on a fully managed, you don't need to worry about anything. We handle all of that for you. But what do some of these things look like? Let's share the screen and just give you a taste here. So first off, you would be configuring, like, let's just say you have WordPress, you'd be configuring host headers, different scripts to facilitate the security, different caching plugins to increase performance, like that, and also Cloudflare configuration, and different firewall rules, as well as Cloudflare rules for different types of plugins that you may use, and other things along those lines. Also, if you're, for example, changing architectures, like, for example, you're moving a current existing site from a retail host to a enterprise host. Well, then what you would have to do is go through and update all of your hyperlinks on every page. So if you're using WordPress and everything's out of box, that's done for you. But if you have custom code, or different plugins that don't use smart links, then you would have to go through, just like our guides, illustrate and update all of the hyperlinks yourself, if you're fully self-managed, or if you're hybrid managed, or fully managed. We could assist and pick up some of the load for you there. So there's a lot involved, but the security is unparalleled, and you've got a ton of additional capabilities at an affordable price that you simply have no way of getting within retail hosting. So that's just another benefit. So hopefully this sheds some light on the differences between basic retail hosting and Alloy Computer Enterprises enterprise-grade hosting. The specifics and the details are everything, and what we have to offer is very competitive in terms of pricing. If you go with a basic hosting company, and you have a managed or a hybrid plan, you may be paying $40 or $60 a month if there's e-commerce involved, and that would essentially be the same price around there that you would pay at Alloy Computer Enterprises for comparable service, but you have all of the enhanced technology layers of the enterprise hosting environment. So we thank you for taking a few moments to watch this webinar and to get yourself educated about what Alloy Computer Enterprises has to offer. And we encourage you to visit our website at www.alloy.com, and to check out what we have to offer, and to reach out to us, and let's get you secured. Thank you very much.